The can of tomato sauce sat on the top shelf. Taunting Penelope Carter like some cruel joke, the universe had decided to play on her at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. She stood in the grocery store aisle, one hand on her hip, the other reaching uselessly upward, her fingers barely grazing the bottom of the shelf below her target. For someone who controlled a multinational corporation worth billions, who commanded boardrooms full of executives twice her size, being defeated by basic geometry felt particularly humiliating. "Need some help?" The voice came from behind her, deep and warm with a hint of concern. Penelope turned to find a man watching her with kind eyes, a small girl perched in the seat of his shopping cart. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out his faded gray Henley. His dark hair was slightly messy, and a shadow of stubble covered his jaw. He looked tired but not defeated, the kind of tired that came from hard work and responsibility rather than despair. "That would be wonderful, actually," Penelope said, stepping aside. She watched as he moved forward with easy confidence, reaching up to grab the can without even needing to stretch. His movements were efficient, practiced, like someone who had spent his life solving practical problems with his hands. "Here you go." He handed her the can with a smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. Up close, she could see flecks of green in his hazel eyes and a small scar above his left eyebrow. "Thank you so much. I should probably start shopping at stores with lower shelves." Penelope returned his smile, tucking a strand of her honey blonde hair behind her ear. She had dressed down today, wearing jeans and a simple sweater, no makeup beyond some mascara. After 12 hours of back-to-back meetings, she had wanted to feel normal for a few minutes, to run a simple errand like a regular person. "Daddy, can we get the cereal with the dinosaurs?" The little girl asked, tugging on his sleeve. She looked about 5 years old, with the same hazel eyes as her father and light brown hair pulled into 2 slightly lopsided pigtails. "We have cereal at home, sweetheart," he said gently, and Penelope caught the slight wince that crossed his features, the practiced response of someone watching every dollar. "But it does not have dinosaurs," the girl protested, her lower lip jutting out. "I know, but the cereal we have is just as good. Plus, dinosaur cereal would not make you grow as strong. Remember what we talked about. We buy what we need, not just what looks fun." The little girl nodded, accepting this with the easy resilience of childhood. Penelope felt something tug in her chest watching their interaction, the gentle patience in his voice, the way he explained rather than dismissed. "Well, thank you again," Penelope said, raising the can slightly in acknowledgement. "No problem at all. Have a good evening." He gave her one more smile before pushing his cart forward, his daughter chattering about something that had happened at school. Penelope stood there for a moment, watching them disappear around the corner toward the checkout lanes. Something about the interaction lingered with her as she finished her shopping, selecting fresh vegetables and organic chicken breast, things she normally had her assistant order but had decided to get herself tonight. She thought about the man's gentle authority with his daughter, the quiet dignity in his worn clothes and careful shopping. At the checkout, she found herself 2 lanes over from them. She tried not to stare, but she could not help noticing the way he counted items as they were rung up, the relief on his face when the total came to something he had apparently budgeted for. He paid in cash, counting out bills carefully. As she loaded her own groceries onto the belt, Penelope wondered about his story. Was he divorced? Widowed? A single father, clearly, managing on what was obviously a limited income. She wondered what he did for work, whether he had family support, whether that little girl knew how lucky she was to have a father who looked at her with such obvious love. Her own groceries cost more than his entire cart, and she paid without thinking, her black card sliding through the machine as automatically as breathing. The checker called her by name, reading it from the card, and Penelope felt suddenly self-conscious, hoping the man had not heard, had not made any connection to the Carter in Carter Industries. Outside, The parking lot was half empty in the fading twilight. Penelope loaded her bags into her car, a modest Honda Accord she kept for occasions when she did not want attention. Her other vehicles, the Mercedes and the Tesla, stayed in the garage at her penthouse. As she drove home, she could not shake the image of those kind hazel eyes, the gentle competence in the way the man had handled his daughter. She saw so many men in her daily life, wealthy executives and entrepreneurs, men who wore $1,000 suits and threw around millions like pocket change. But there had been something real about the man in the grocery store, something grounded and genuine that she rarely encountered in her world of corporate maneuvering and strategic partnerships. Her penthouse welcomed her with its usual elegant emptiness. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, lights beginning to twinkle as darkness fell. The space was beautiful, decorated by an expensive designer, but it felt hollow tonight. She put away her groceries and made herself a salad, eating at the marble kitchen island while scrolling through emails on her phone. At 32 years old, Penelope had everything she had ever worked for. She had inherited Carter Industries from her father 5 years ago and had doubled its value, proving to the board and the world that she was not just a lucky heiress but a brilliant businesswoman in her own right. She had money, power, respect, and influence. What she did not have was someone to share it with, someone who looked at her the way that man had looked at his daughter, with uncomplicated love and devotion. She went to bed early, but sleep came slowly, her mind drifting back to the grocery store, to a simple kindness from a stranger. 3 days later, Penelope found herself back at the same grocery store. She told herself it was convenient, close to the office, but she knew she was lying. She wandered the aisles slowly, her cart filling with items she did not really need, her eyes scanning for a tall man with tired eyes and a little girl. She was about to give up, feeling foolish for what was essentially stalking, when she heard that same young voice. "Daddy, why does that lady have 3 different kinds of apples?" Penelope turned to see them one aisle over, visible through a gap in the shelving. The little girl was pointing directly at her. "Emma, that is not polite," the man said quietly. "We do not point at people or comment on their shopping. But why does she need 3 kinds? Maybe she likes different apples for different things. Some are better for eating, some for baking. Now come on, we need to get milk." They rounded the corner, and Penelope found herself face to face with them again. Recognition dawned in his eyes, followed by that same warm smile. "The high-shelf lady," he said with a hint of amusement. "Finding everything okay today?" "Yes, much better, thank you." Penelope smiled at the little girl, who was studying her with open curiosity. "Hello there." "Hi, I am Emma. I am 5 3/4, the girl announced proudly. 5 3/4 is a very good age, Penelope said seriously. "I am Penelope." "That is a princess name," Emma declared. Her father said, a gentle warning in his tone, but Penelope laughed. "I have never thought of it that way, but you might be right. What is your name?" She directed this last question to the man, bold in a way she rarely was outside boardrooms. Ethan Jensen." He shifted the shopping basket he was carrying to his other hand and extended his right hand. His grip was firm, his palms slightly calloused. Working hands. "It is nice to officially meet you both." Penelope shook his hand, aware of the warmth of his skin, the strength in his fingers. "Daddy builds things," Emma volunteered. "He makes houses pretty." "I am a carpenter," Ethan clarified, a hint of color rising in his cheeks. "Mostly renovation work, some custom furniture." "That sounds like skilled work," Penelope said, and she meant it. She had renovated her office suite last year and had been amazed by the craftsmanship of the woodwork. "It pays the bills," Ethan said with a slight shrug. And again, Penelope caught that flicker of something in his expression, pride mixed with worry. "Barely pays them," she thought she heard him mutter, but before she could respond, Emma tugged on his hand. "Daddy, we need to get milk before it gets warm." "You are absolutely right. We should keep moving." He gave Penelope an apologetic smile. Nice running into you again. You too. Bye, Emma. Bye, Princess Penelope. Penelope watched them go, a smile playing on her lips. Princess Penelope. She kind of liked it. That night, lying in her enormous bed with its Egyptian cotton sheets, Penelope made a decision. It was impulsive, probably unwise, and definitely outside her usual careful approach to life, but she could not stop thinking about Ethan Jensen. Not just his looks, though he was certainly attractive, but something about his presence, his gentleness, the capable way he moved through the world. She wanted to see him again. Really see him, not just chance meetings in grocery stores. But how did a billionaire CEO ask out a struggling carpenter without it being weird or intimidating? The power imbalance was enormous, the gulf between their worlds almost unbridgeable. She fell asleep, still trying to figure it out. The answer came from an unexpected source. The next morning, her assistant Marcus buzzed into her office with his usual efficiency. "The contractor is here about the break room renovation," he announced. "Send him in." Penelope had approved the renovation weeks ago, a project to update the employee break areas on each floor. It was good for morale and productivity, and she tried to take care of her employees, even in small ways. The contractor who walked in was not Ethan Jensen, but Penelope found herself asking anyway. "Do you have a full crew assigned to this project?" "Yes, madam. We will have 4 or 5 guys rotating through, depending on the phase of work. All skilled, all professional." "Do you hire independent carpenters? Freelancers?" The contractor looked slightly puzzled but nodded. "Sometimes, if we need extra hands or specialized skills. Why do you ask?" "I might have someone to recommend. Would you be willing to consider him if I can provide contact information?" "Of course, Miss Carter. We are always looking for good people." It took Penelope 3 more days and the help of a private investigator, which felt creepy but necessary, to find Ethan's contact information. Ethan Jensen, age 34, widower, daughter Emma, age 5, lived in a modest apartment in a working-class neighborhood. His wife had died 2 years ago from an aggressive cancer, leaving him with medical debt and a young daughter to raise alone. He worked multiple jobs, the carpentry being his primary income but supplemented by weekend handyman work and the occasional construction gig. Penelope's heart ached reading the report. No wonder he looked tired. No wonder he counted every dollar in the grocery store. She sent his information to the contractor with a glowing recommendation based on word-of-mouth reputation, which was technically true, even if the words had come from an investigator rather than a satisfied customer. Then she waited. 2 weeks later, Marcus informed her that the break room renovation was underway. Penelope found herself taking more walks through the building, casually passing by the construction areas. She felt ridiculous, like a teenager with a crush, but she could not help herself. On the 3rd day, she saw him. Ethan was crouched next to a wall, measuring something with intense concentration. He wore a tool belt and a faded blue work shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal tanned, muscled forearms. Sawdust dusted his dark hair. Penelope took a breath and walked over, her heels clicking on the temporary plywood flooring. "How is the work going?" she asked, her CEO voice firmly in place. Ethan looked up, and his eyes widened with recognition. He scrambled to his feet, hastily wiping his hands on his jeans. "Miss Carter." "I did not realize this was your building. Your company, I mean." His ears had gone slightly red. "Guilty as charged, and please call me Penelope. We are grocery store acquaintances, after all." She smiled, trying to put him at ease. "Right, Penelope." He said her name carefully, like he was testing out the taste of it. "The work is going well. This is a good project. Quality materials, solid planning. I try to take care of my employees. They spend a lot of time here. It should be comfortable." "That is a good philosophy." Ethan met her eyes, and for a moment the space between them felt charged with something Penelope could not quite name. "How is Emma?" she asked, his whole face softened. "She is good, loving kindergarten, talks nonstop about her teacher and her new friends. And you?" Are you adjusting to the school schedule? It was a bold question, revealing that she knew more than a casual acquaintance should. It is a juggling act, but we manage. My neighbor helps with pickup when I am working. I pay her when I can, and she is patient when I cannot. He said it matter-of-factly, without shame but without pride either, just stating the reality of his life. That is good that you have support. They stood there for a moment, neither quite sure what to say next. Around them, the sounds of construction continued, other workers moving materials, the whine of a saw from another room. I should let you get back to work, Penelope finally said. Yeah, I should, but Penelope, thank you. For what? For this job. I do not know if you had anything to do with me being here, but the timing was perfect. This is steady work for at least 6 weeks, maybe more. That means I can actually plan, not just scramble day to day. Penelope felt warmth spread through her chest. You are welcome. But I am sure you got hired based on your skills. Still, thank you. The look he gave her was so sincere, so full of genuine gratitude that Penelope had to look away. Over the next few weeks, Penelope found more and more reasons to check on the renovation progress. She told herself it was due diligence, good management, staying connected to what was happening in her own building. But she knew the truth. She was finding excuses to see Ethan. They fell into an easy pattern of conversation. She would stop by, ask about the work, and somehow they would end up talking about other things. Emma's latest adventures at school. A funny customer Penelope had met at the grocery store when she went back, still hoping to run into them. His plans for a custom bookshelf. He wanted to build for Emma's room. Penelope learned that Ethan had grown up in a small town upstate, that he had learned carpentry from his grandfather, that he had met his late wife Sarah in high school and married her right after graduation. He spoke about her with fondness but not overwhelming grief, a man who had loved and lost but was still living. Ethan learned that Penelope liked coffee with too much cream, that she had studied business at Harvard, that she could be ruthless in negotiations but soft-hearted about stray cats. He did not seem intimidated by her success, but he did not seem particularly impressed by it either. He treated her like a person, not a position, and Penelope found that more attractive than any amount of flattery. The attraction between them grew, undeniable but unspoken. Penelope caught him looking at her sometimes when he thought she was not paying attention. She knew she looked at him the same way, admiring the competent way he worked, the strength in his movements, the focus in his eyes. But the gulf between them felt impossibly wide. She was a billionaire. He was barely making ends meet. How could anything real develop in that context? Would he think she was slumming, amusing herself with a working-class man? Would she seem like a savior complex case, a rich woman trying to rescue someone? The questions circled in her mind, but they did not stop her from finding reasons to be near him. One Friday afternoon, about 4 weeks into the project, Penelope was reviewing the work when she heard a commotion near the entrance. Daddy. Emma came running through the construction area, her backpack bouncing, pigtails flying. Close behind her was an older woman, probably the neighbor, looking apologetic. I am so sorry, Ethan. There was an emergency with my daughter. I tried calling but could not reach you. I did not know what else to do but bring her here. It is okay, Mrs. Rodriguez. Thank you for getting her. Ethan had already scooped Emma into his arms, and the little girl was chattering excitedly about her day. I made a butterfly in art class, Daddy, with real glitter. Miss Santos said it was beautiful. I bet it was, sweetheart. Ethan's voice was warm, but Penelope could see the tension in his shoulders. He glanced around at the construction zone, clearly trying to figure out what to do. Ethan. Penelope stepped forward. Why do not you bring Emma to my office? She can do homework or draw while you finish up your workday. I have coloring, books, and crayons. She did not mention that she had bought them specifically after learning about Emma, just in case. Ethan looked at her, surprise and relief warring in his expression. Are you sure? I would not want to impose. It is not an imposition, really. I was just doing paperwork anyway. I would be happy for the company. Can I, Daddy, please? Emma's eyes were huge and pleading. Okay, sweetheart. But you have to be good, very, very good, and quiet. I will be so quiet, like a mouse, like a butterfly. Emma mimed zipping her lips. Penelope led them to her corner office, Emma skipping between them. The little girl's eyes went wide when she saw the view. Daddy, you can see everything. The whole world. Not quite the whole world, but a good chunk of the city, Penelope said, smiling. She pulled out the coloring books and crayons from a drawer in her credenza. Have you eaten a snack? Mrs. Rodriguez gave me crackers. Would you like some apple juice and cookies? Emma looked at her father for permission, and he nodded, still looking slightly shell-shocked by the whole situation. Penelope buzzed Marcus, who appeared with remarkable speed. Could you get some apple juice and those good cookies from the executive kitchen? The chocolate chip ones. Right away, Miss Carter. Thank you, Ethan said quietly. Really, this is above and beyond. It is just an office and some cookies, Ethan. Do not worry about it. Go finish your work. We will be fine. He hesitated, then crouched down to Emma's level. You be good for Penelope, okay? I will be done in about 2 hours. Then we will go home and make dinner. Can we have spaghetti? We can have spaghetti. With the sauce from the jar. With the sauce from the jar. Emma threw her arms around his neck and squeezed. Ethan hugged her back, and Penelope had to look away from the tenderness of it. After he left, Emma settled at the coffee table with her coloring books, chattering away as she worked. Penelope found herself genuinely enjoying the little girl's company. Emma was bright and imaginative, spinning elaborate stories about the pictures she colored, asking questions about everything she saw in the office. Why do you have so many papers? Emma asked, gesturing at the neat stacks on Penelope's desk. I run a company. That means I have to make a lot of decisions, and a lot of those decisions start with reading papers and reports. That sounds boring, Penelope laughed. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is exciting, like figuring out a puzzle. I like puzzles. Daddy and I do puzzles together. We have one with 100 pieces that is a farm. That sounds wonderful. They colored together, and Emma told her about school, about her best friend Lily, about how she missed her mommy sometimes, but Daddy said it was okay to be sad. Daddy says Mommy is watching from heaven and she is proud of me, Emma said, her small hands carefully staying inside the lines of a rainbow she was coloring. He says she loved me very much. I am sure she did, Penelope said softly. You are very easy to love. Emma looked up at her with those serious hazel eyes. Do you have kids? No, I do not. Do you have a husband? No. Do you want them? Kids and a husband? It was such a direct question, so innocently asked, but it hit Penelope right in the chest. Did she want them? She had been so focused on her career, on proving herself, on building her empire. She had dated, had a few relationships, but nothing that stuck, nothing that felt more important than her work. But sitting here with this little girl, thinking about her father working downstairs, Penelope realized the answer was yes. She did want them. She wanted this, the small domestic moments, the simple joy of a child's laughter, someone to share her life with. I think I do, she said honestly. I just have not found the right person yet. Emma nodded sagely. Daddy says that too. Mrs. Rodriguez says he should go on dates, but he says he is too busy and too tired, and he says Emma comes first always. She said this last part with obvious pride. Your daddy sounds very smart. He is the smartest and the strongest. He can lift me all the way up to the ceiling. They colored in comfortable silence for a while. Penelope felt something settle in her chest, a certainty that had been building for weeks. She was falling for Ethan Jensen. Not because of some meet cute in a grocery store, though that had started it, but because of who he was, the man she had gotten to know. His quiet strength, his devotion to his daughter, his dignity in hard circumstances, his gentle kindness. The question was, what was she going to do about it? When Ethan came back, cleaned up and ready to go, Emma ran to him with her pictures. Look what I made. This one is for you, and this one is for Penelope because she was so nice to let me stay here. Ethan took both pictures, studying them seriously. These are beautiful, sweetness. What do you say to Penelope? Thank you for the cookies and the crayons, and for letting me color in your office that has windows that show the whole world. You are very welcome, Emma. You can come back anytime. Penelope met Ethan's eyes over Emma's head. Something passed between them, unspoken but undeniable. Thank you, he said. For everything I owe you, you do not owe me anything. But Ethan, could I ask you something? Of course. Would you and Emma like to have dinner with me tomorrow night? Nothing fancy, just dinner, maybe pizza. Emma gasped. Pizza, Daddy, can we? Please? Ethan looked at Penelope and she could see him processing, trying to figure out her angle, whether this was pity or something else. As friends, Penelope added, though the word felt inadequate for what she was hoping. I would really like to spend more time with both of you. Yes, Ethan said finally, we would like that. Penelope felt her heart do a little flip. Great, tomorrow at 6. There is a good pizza place near the park with the big playground. We know it, Ethan said, and the smile he gave her was worth more than all the money in her accounts. The next day, Penelope changed her outfit 4 times before settling on dark jeans and a soft blue sweater, casual but still flattering. She pulled her hair into a loose ponytail and kept her makeup minimal. She wanted to look like herself, not the CEO version, but the real her. She got to the restaurant early, nervous energy making it impossible to arrive fashionably late. She chose a booth near the window, where she could watch the playground, and ordered a soda to give herself something to do with her hands. When Ethan and Emma arrived, Penelope felt her breath catch. Ethan had cleaned up, wearing jeans and a dark blue button-down that made his eyes look more green than brown. Emma wore a purple dress with butterflies on it and had a new bow in her hair. You look beautiful, Emma, Penelope said as they slid into the booth across from her. Thank you. Daddy helped me pick it out. He said we should look nice because you are fancy. Emma, Ethan said, his ears going red. It is okay, Penelope laughed. I promise I am not that fancy, just a regular person who likes pizza, they ordered, and conversation flowed easily. Emma dominated at first, telling elaborate stories about her week, showing off a loose tooth, asking Penelope about her favorite color and whether she liked unicorns. Purple, and yes, absolutely, Penelope answered seriously, earning a delighted giggle from Emma. When the pizza came, Emma ate with the messy enthusiasm of childhood. Ethan tried to manage her with gentle reminders about napkins and not talking with her mouth full, but Penelope could see the love in every interaction. After Emma had eaten her fill, she spotted the playground through the window. Can I go play, please? Ethan glanced at Penelope, who nodded. Go ahead, we can see you from here. Emma took off like a shot, and suddenly Penelope and Ethan were alone, watching her climb onto the slide. She is wonderful, Penelope said. You are doing an amazing job with her. Thank you. It is not easy, but she is worth every struggle. He paused, taking a drink of his beer. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you doing this, having dinner with us, being so kind to Emma? Is this some kind of charity thing? Because I appreciate the help with the job, but if this is about feeling sorry for me, it is not, Penelope interrupted gently. Ethan, I like you. I like spending time with you. I like how you are with Emma, how you talk about your work, how you treat people. Yes, I know you are struggling financially. I am not blind, but that is not why I asked you to dinner. Then why? Penelope took a breath. Honesty, she decided. Just pure honesty. Because I have not been able to stop thinking about you since you helped me with that can of tomato sauce. Because every conversation we have makes me want more. Because when I am in a meeting with executives talking about millions of dollars, I am thinking about the way you explained wood grain to me last week. Because I like you, Ethan. Really like you. He stared at her, and Penelope could not read his expression. Her heart hammered. I am a widowed father who lives paycheck to paycheck, he said finally. You are a billionaire CEO. How would that even work? I do not know, Penelope admitted, but I would like to try to figure it out. If you are interested. Interested. Ethan let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sigh. Penelope, I have been half in love with you since you laughed at Emma calling you Princess Penelope, but I do not know what I have to offer you. I cannot take you to fancy restaurants or buy you expensive gifts. I cannot even guarantee I will be available when you want to see me because my schedule is dictated by whatever jobs I can get and whenever Emma needs me, which is always. Emma always comes first. I would never ask you to change that, Penelope said firmly. Emma should come first. That is one of the things I admire most about you. And Ethan, I have money. I do not need you to have it. I need you to be exactly who you are, honest and kind and good. He reached across the table and took her hand, his calloused fingers warm against hers. This is crazy. Maybe, but sometimes the best things are a little crazy. Through the window, they watched Emma going down the slide over and over, her laughter carrying even through the glass. When she saw them looking, she waved enthusiastically and they waved back. So what happens now? Ethan asked, still holding her hand. Now we see what happens, Penelope said. We take it slow, we figure it out as we go. You keep being an amazing dad, I keep running my company, and we make time for each other when we can. I would like that, Ethan said, and the smile he gave her was so genuine, so full of hope and possibility that Penelope felt like she could float. They stayed at the restaurant until Emma was thoroughly exhausted from playing, her cheeks flushed and her hair a mess. As they walked out together, Emma took Penelope's hand without asking, swinging between them like she had known her forever. This was the best day, Emma announced. Can we do it again? Absolutely, Penelope said, meeting Ethan's eyes over her head. Anytime you want. That night, Penelope lay in bed feeling more content than she had in years. Her phone buzzed with a text. Emma is asking when she can see you again. She wants to show you her butterfly from school. Thank you for tonight, it meant more than you know. Penelope typed back quickly. Anytime, maybe lunch tomorrow after you finish work, my treat. You do not have to keep paying. I know I want to. Besides, I have ulterior motives. I want to spend time with both of you. In that case, lunch sounds perfect. Emma will be thrilled. How about you? Are you thrilled? There was a longer pause and Penelope held her breath. More than I can say. Sleep well, Penelope. You too, Ethan. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Lunches when Ethan could make them. Dinners at casual restaurants where Emma could be herself. A trip to the zoo where Emma insisted on seeing every single animal twice. A Saturday morning at a farmer's market where Ethan bought vegetables while Emma and Penelope picked out flowers. Penelope learned to navigate Ethan's schedule, understanding when he had to cancel because a job ran late or Emma was sick. He never apologized excessively or made excuses, just stated the facts and worked to reschedule. She appreciated his directness. Ethan slowly relaxed around her wealth, though she could tell it still made him uncomfortable sometimes. She tried to be sensitive, suggesting activities that did not require money, being careful about offers to pay for things. She wanted him to feel like an equal, even though their bank accounts told a different story. One evening, about 2 months into whatever they were building, Ethan invited Penelope to his apartment for dinner. He looked nervous when he asked, warning her it was small and not fancy, but Penelope accepted immediately. His apartment was indeed small, a 2-bedroom in an older building, but it was clean and filled with love. Handmade touches everywhere showed Ethan's craftsmanship. Custom shelves held books and toys. A small table had clearly been refinished with care. Emma's artwork covered the refrigerator. This is wonderful, Penelope said honestly. It feels like a real home. It is not much, but it is ours. Ethan was making spaghetti, the sauce from a jar as promised to Emma, who was setting the table with careful concentration. They ate together, and it felt so natural, so right. Emma told jokes she had learned at school. Ethan talked about a custom cabinet he was building. Penelope shared a funny story about a meeting that had gone sideways. After dinner, Emma showed Penelope her room, proudly displaying her toys and books. Daddy made that bookshelf just for me. And that step stool so I can reach my clothes. Everything in the room had been made with love, practical solutions built by skilled hands. Penelope felt emotion well up in her throat. After Emma was tucked into bed, Penelope and Ethan sat on the small couch, closer together than strictly necessary. The TV was on, but neither was paying attention. "Thank you for coming here," Ethan said quietly, "for not being weird about it." "Why would I be weird?" "Because I know you live in a penthouse downtown. I know you have more money than I can imagine. And here I am, feeding you pasta from a box in my tiny apartment." "Ethan, look at me." Penelope waited until he met her eyes. "This is better than any fancy restaurant. This is real. This is you. And I like it here. I like being part of your life, part of Emma's life. I do not care about the size of your apartment or where your pasta comes from." "How can you not care? The difference between us is just money," Penelope finished. "Yes, I have it and you do not. But that is not what matters to me. What matters is how you make me feel. What matters is the way Emma laughs when you tell her jokes. What matters is that when I am with you, I do not have to be CEO Penelope. I can just be Penelope. Do you know how rare that is for me?" Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then, slowly, he reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His hand lingered on her cheek. "I am falling for you," he said softly. "Really falling. And it scares the hell out of me because I did not think I would ever feel this way again after Sarah. And because I do not want to mess this up." "I am falling for you too," Penelope whispered. "And I am scared too. But Ethan, I think this is worth being scared for." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away, but she did not want to. When his lips met hers, it felt like coming home. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, then deeper as they both relaxed into it. His hand cupped her cheek, and she rested hers on his chest, feeling his heart beat fast beneath her palm. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "Wow," he said. "Yeah," Penelope agreed. They sat there together, wrapped in each other, until Penelope reluctantly said she should go. It was late, and they both had early mornings. But at the door, Ethan kissed her again, and Penelope felt like her heart might burst from happiness. The next few months were the best of Penelope's life. She and Ethan navigated their relationship with care, always aware of Emma's needs and feelings. They did not rush, did not push. They just let it unfold naturally. Emma grew attached to Penelope, and the feeling was completely mutual. Penelope found herself buying little gifts, books and art supplies, always checking with Ethan first to make sure it was okay. She attended Emma's school play, sitting with Ethan in the audience, both of them applauding wildly when Emma said her one line as tree number 3. The issue of money remained a delicate balance. Ethan was proud, never wanting handouts, but Penelope wanted to help. They found compromises. When Ethan's car broke down and the repair would have set him back weeks financially, Penelope had her company mechanic fix it, calling it an employee benefit extension since he had worked on her building. When Emma needed new shoes, Penelope suggested shopping together, saying she had a coupon, though of course she just paid. Ethan saw through most of her tactics, but seemed to appreciate that she tried to preserve his dignity. And slowly, he learned to accept help, learning that letting someone care for you was not weakness but trust. 6 months into their relationship, Penelope invited them to spend a weekend at her family's lake house upstate. It was a big step, more time together, more intimacy. Ethan hesitated, but Emma's excitement won him over. The lake house was beautiful but not ostentatious, a comfortable cabin with a dock and a small beach. Emma went wild, running from room to room, begging to go swimming immediately. That weekend was perfect. They swam and fished and grilled food. Emma caught a tiny fish and made them take 17 pictures of it before releasing it back. They played board games on the porch while rain fell softly around them. At night, they made a fire and roasted marshmallows, Emma falling asleep between them, sticky and happy. After they carried her to bed, Penelope and Ethan sat on the dock, their feet dangling in the cool water. Stars stretched overhead in a way they never could in the city. "I could get used to this," Ethan said, his arm around Penelope's shoulders. You should. I want to share this with you. All of it. All of it. All of it, Penelope confirmed. Ethan, I love you. I am in love with you. I have been for months now, but I was scared to say it. Scared it was too soon, scared of moving too fast, scared of a million things. But I am tired of being scared. I love you. Ethan turned to her, his eyes bright even in the darkness. I love you too. God, I love you. I tried not to. I told myself it was impossible, that we were too different. But Penelope, you have become the best part of my life. You and Emma, you are everything. They kissed under the stars, and Penelope felt like her whole life had been leading to this moment. The next morning, over pancakes, Emma made an announcement. I think Penelope should be my new mommy. Ethan nearly choked on his coffee. Emma, sweetness, that is not something you just decide. Why not? I love her and she loves me, and you love her and she loves you. That is what families do. They love each other. Penelope felt tears spring to her eyes. Emma's simple logic cut through all the complexity, all the worry. I would be honored to be part of your family, Emma, Penelope said carefully. But these things take time. Your daddy and I need to talk about a lot of grown-up things first. Okay, but do not take too long. I am not getting any younger, Emma said seriously, making both adults burst out laughing. But the conversation had been started, and that night, after Emma was asleep, Penelope and Ethan talked about the future for real. I do not want to rush you, Penelope said. Especially with Emma to consider, but I meant what I said last night. I want this, all of it. I want a life with you. I want that too, Ethan said. But Penelope, there are practical things we need to address. Where would we live? I cannot move into your penthouse. It would not be right for Emma. But my apartment is too small for all of us. And my work, it is unpredictable. Sometimes I have to take jobs wherever I can get them. How does that fit with your schedule? We figure it out, Penelope said firmly. Maybe we find a house, something that feels like ours together, not yours or mine. Somewhere with a yard for Emma. As for work, what if you started your own business? Custom carpentry, the high-end stuff you love to do but never have time for. I could help with startup costs, Penelope. I cannot let you fund my business. Why not? People invest in businesses all the time. Think of it as an investment. You pay me back when you start making profit. With your skills, you could build a real company, hire people, have steady income, and a consistent schedule. Ethan was quiet, thinking. You really believe I could do that? I know you could. I have seen your work, Ethan. It is art. There is absolutely a market for it. You just need the capital to get started and someone to help with the business side. Which, in case you have forgotten, is kind of what I do. You would really do that. Help me start a business? I would do anything for you, for both of you. Ethan pulled her close, kissing her deeply. I do not deserve you. Yes, you do, and I deserve you. We deserve each other. The next few months were a whirlwind of planning and change. Ethan gave notice to his various employers and started building his business plan with Penelope's help. She enjoyed being involved in something hands-on, smaller scale than her usual corporate dealings, but more personal and meaningful. They house-hunted together, Emma coming along to give her very important opinions. They found a perfect place in a good neighborhood, not too far from Emma's school. 4 bedrooms, a yard, a garage where Ethan could set up his workshop. It was expensive but not ostentatious, the kind of place where a family could grow. Penelope bought it outright, refusing Ethan's protests. It is an investment in our future, she said. In Emma's future, let me do this. He finally agreed, but insisted on contributing to household expenses once they moved in together. Penelope accepted, understanding he needed to feel like a partner, not a dependent. A year after they met in that grocery store, Ethan proposed. He did it simply, at home after dinner. Emma was supposedly in bed, but Penelope suspected she was listening from the stairs. Ethan got down on one knee in their living room, holding a ring he had designed and made himself. The band inlaid with wood from the first piece of furniture he had built for his new company. Penelope, you changed my life. You took a struggling single dad and showed him that it was okay to accept help, to be vulnerable, to fall in love again. You love my daughter like she is your own. You believe in me when I do not always believe in myself. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Penelope said, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, absolutely yes." Emma came thundering down the stairs, abandoning all pretense of sleep. I knew it. I am going to be a flower girl, right?" They laughed and pulled her into their embrace, the three of them holding each other tight. The wedding was 6 months later, small and intimate. Emma was indeed the flower girl, taking her duties very seriously. Penelope's mother attended, initially skeptical of Ethan but won over by his obvious devotion to both her daughter and his own. A few close friends, some family, Ethan's crew from his growing business. They said their vows in the backyard of their home, under a canopy Ethan had built specially for the occasion. Penelope promised to love and support him, to be a mother to Emma, to build a life together. Ethan promised to cherish her, to be her partner in all things, to never take for granted the gift of her love when they kissed. Emma cheered louder than anyone. Their honeymoon was a week at the lake house, just the three of them. Emma had worried about being left behind, but they had assured her she was part of this marriage, part of their family. She took her role as daughter very seriously, helping to make breakfast, picking flowers, announcing that she was going to be the best sister ever when they had a baby. "Whoa, let us slow down there," Ethan said, laughing, but he met Penelope's eyes with a question. Later, when Emma was asleep, Penelope brought it up. "Would you want more children?" "Would you?" "I think I would," Penelope said softly. "Emma is amazing, and being her stepmother has been the greatest joy of my life. But yes, I think I would like to have a baby with you." Ethan smiled, pulling her close. "Then let us see what happens. No pressure, no rush, just us loving each other." 2 years into their marriage, Penelope discovered she was pregnant. She told Ethan and Emma together, watching Emma's face explode with excitement. "I am going to be a big sister. A real big sister. Can it be a girl? I want a sister to play with." The baby was indeed a girl, born on a sunny spring morning. They named her Lily Grace, and Emma declared her the most perfect baby ever created. Watching Ethan with their newborn daughter, the same tender care he had always shown Emma now extended to this tiny new person, Penelope felt her heart might burst from happiness. This was what she had been missing all those years, focused solely on her career. Not the trappings of family life, but the love, the connection, the sense of belonging. Emma was a devoted big sister, always wanting to help with feedings and diaper changes. At 7 years old, she was old enough to be genuinely helpful, fetching things and entertaining Lily with songs and silly faces. Ethan's business thrived. His reputation for quality craftsmanship grew, and he had to hire 3 additional carpenters to keep up with demand. He loved the work, loved being his own boss, loved having a schedule that let him be present for his family. Penelope continued running Carter Industries, but she had learned to delegate more, to trust her executives, to prioritize family time. She worked from home 2 days a week, taking calls while Lily napped and Emma did homework at the kitchen table. They were not perfect. They had arguments about money, about scheduling, about parenting decisions. Ethan sometimes still struggled with Penelope paying for expensive things. Penelope sometimes got frustrated when Ethan's pride prevented him from accepting help. But they talked through it, never letting resentment fester, always coming back to their love for each other. 3 years after Lily was born, Emma now 10 and flourishing, Penelope pregnant again with twin boys, they sat together in their backyard watching the sunset. Emma was pushing Lily on the swing set Ethan had built, both girls shrieking with laughter. "Can you believe this is our life?" Ethan asked, his hand resting on Penelope's rounded belly. "Sometimes I still cannot," Penelope admitted. "Sometimes I think about that day in the grocery store, how different everything could have been if I had not needed that can of tomato sauce, or if I had not offered to help." Or if I had not found an excuse to go back to that same store hoping to see you again. Ethan laughed. I did the same thing. For 2 weeks I found reasons to shop there at the same time, hoping to run into you. Really? You never told me that. Some things are worth a little extra grocery shopping, he said, kissing her temple. Emma came running over, Lily toddling behind her. Mom, Lily wants a snack. Can she have cookies? Penelope smiled at the easy way Emma called her mom now. No longer Penelope, but simply Mom, the title earned through years of love and care. 1 cookie each, and then we need to start thinking about dinner. I will make my famous tacos, Ethan announced, and Emma cheered. As they all headed inside, Lily held between Ethan and Emma, each holding one of her small hands. Penelope followed behind, her hands cradling her belly where the twins kicked and rolled. This was her life now. Not board meetings and corporate strategy, though those still mattered. But this family they had built together. A struggling single father and a lonely billionaire who had found each other through a simple act of kindness and built something beautiful. The path had not always been easy. The difference in their backgrounds still surfaced sometimes in small ways, in assumptions and experiences that did not match. But they had learned to navigate it together, to communicate, to compromise, to always lead with love. As they ate dinner that night, Emma telling elaborate stories about her day, Lily making a mess with her taco, Ethan meeting Penelope's eyes across the table with a smile that still made her heart skip. Penelope felt a contentment so deep it was almost overwhelming. She had spent so many years building an empire, acquiring wealth and power and success. But none of it, not a single dollar or deal or achievement, meant as much as this. Messy dinners and sticky hands, the way Emma came to her with her problems and triumphs. The weight of Lily falling asleep on her chest, the twins moving beneath her heart. Ethan's hand finding hers across the table. This was the real treasure. Not the money, though it certainly helped, and she was grateful to be able to provide for her family without financial stress. But the love, the connection, the sense of home. Later that night, after the girls were tucked into bed and they had a few moments of quiet, Ethan pulled Penelope into his arms on their back porch. Thank you, he said softly. For what? For seeing me that day in the grocery store. For being kind, for taking a chance on a struggling single dad who had nothing to offer you but love. You had everything to offer me, Penelope corrected. You showed me what really matters. You and Emma, you saved me from a life that was successful but empty. I should be thanking you. How about we call it even? Ethan suggested, and kissed her deeply. Deal, Penelope murmured against his lips. The twins arrived 6 weeks later, 2 healthy boys they named Michael and Daniel. Emma was thrilled to have 2 siblings to boss around and took her role as oldest very seriously. Lily was confused but delighted by the tiny babies who moved into her house. The first few months were chaotic in the way that newborn twins always bring chaos, but they managed. Ethan took paternity leave from his business, his second in command handling the day-to-day operations. Penelope worked from home as much as possible, taking conference calls with a baby on her shoulder. Emma helped constantly, fetching diapers and bottles, reading to her siblings, being the extra pair of hands they desperately needed. At 10 years old, she was mature beyond her years but still wonderfully childlike in her joy. One afternoon, about 3 months after the twins were born, Emma came to Penelope where she sat nursing Michael. Mom, can I talk to you about something? Of course, sweetheart. What is on your mind? Emma sat down carefully, not wanting to disturb the baby. I was thinking about my other mom, my birth mom, Sarah. Penelope's heart squeezed, but she kept her voice calm and warm. What about her? I do not remember her very much anymore. I remember she had brown hair and she smelled like flowers, and I remember she was sick. But mostly I remember Daddy being sad. That must have been a very hard time. It was. But then you came, and Daddy stopped being so sad. And now we have Lily and Michael and Daniel, and we are a real family. But sometimes I wonder if my other mom would be mad that I have a new mom. Penelope felt tears prick her eyes. She shifted Michael carefully and reached for Emma's hand. "Emma, your birth mom loved you so much. I know she did, even though I never met her. And I think she would be so happy that your daddy found someone to love him and love you. She would not want you to be sad or for your family to be incomplete. I think she would be grateful that you have people to take care of you and love you. Do you think she can see us from heaven?" "I like to think so, and I think if she can, she is very proud of the amazing girl you have become." Emma was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she said, "I am glad Daddy found you. I am glad you are my mom, even though I had another mom first. You can love us both, Emma. Love does not run out. There is always room for more." Emma leaned carefully against Penelope's shoulder, mindful of the nursing baby. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart, so much." Later that night, Penelope told Ethan about the conversation. He held her close, his own eyes damp. "Thank you for being so good to her, for honoring Sarah's memory while still being her mother. That cannot be easy." "It is easy because I love her," Penelope said simply. "She is my daughter in every way that matters. Sarah gave birth to her, but I get to help raise her. We are both her mothers, just in different ways." As the twins grew from infants to toddlers, as Emma moved into middle school and Lily started kindergarten, life continued its beautiful chaos. Ethan's business expanded to a second location. Penelope launched a new division of Carter Industries focused on sustainable manufacturing, a passion project she had finally had time to pursue. They took vacations, sometimes fancy trips to beaches or Europe, sometimes simple camping trips where Ethan taught the kids to fish and build fires. Emma grew into a confident teenager, popular at school but never forgetting where she came from or what mattered. Lily was imaginative and artistic, filling the house with drawings and stories. The twins were energetic and mischievous, keeping everyone on their toes. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Penelope and Ethan renewed their vows in their backyard, surrounded by their children and loved ones. Emma, now 16, read a poem she had written about family and love. Lily, 13, played a song on the guitar her father had taught her. The twins, now 9, served as ring bearers with varying degrees of seriousness. 10 years ago, I married my best friend, Ethan said in his vows. The woman who saw past my struggles to the person I was inside, who loved my daughter as her own, who gave me the courage to dream bigger and the support to make those dreams reality. Penelope, you are my everything. My partner, my love, my home. Here is to 10 more years and 10 after that, and as many as we are blessed to have. Penelope could barely speak through her tears as she responded. Ethan, you taught me what love really means. Not grand gestures or expensive gifts, but everyday kindness. Making coffee in the morning, building swing sets and dollhouses, being present for every recital and game and ordinary Tuesday night. You showed me that the best riches in life are not things you buy but relationships you build. I love you more today than I did 10 years ago, and I will love you more tomorrow than I do today. When they kissed, their 4 children cheered, and Penelope felt the same flutter in her chest she had felt in that grocery store aisle 12 years ago. The moment that had changed everything, the simple act of kindness that had led to all of this. Life was not perfect. Emma struggled with friend drama and the pressures of high school. Lily had anxiety that required therapy and patience. The twins fought constantly over everything. Ethan's business hit a rough patch when a major client defaulted on payment. Penelope had a health scare that turned out to be nothing but terrified them all. But through everything, they had each other. They had the foundation of love and trust they had built together. They had learned that the measure of a relationship was not how you handled the good times, but how you supported each other through the hard ones. Emma graduated high school with honors and headed off to college, studying education because she wanted to work with children. At her graduation party, she gave a speech thanking her family. "I have 2 mothers," she said, her voice clear and strong. "One who gave me life and one who taught me how to live it, one who left too soon and one who stayed and never wavered. Both loved me completely. Both shaped who I am. And I have a father who showed me that strength is not about never struggling, but about never giving up. Who taught me that asking for help is not weakness but courage. Who modeled what it means to be a good parent and a good person. And I have siblings who drive me crazy but who I would not trade for anything. This family, this weird, wonderful family built from loss and love and a can of tomato sauce on a high shelf, this is everything to me. There was not a dry eye in the room. The years continued to pass. Emma graduated college and got engaged to a young teacher she had met during student teaching. Lily developed into a talented artist, her work winning regional competitions. The twins, now teenagers themselves, were star athletes on their school's baseball team. Ethan's business became one of the most respected custom carpentry firms in the state. Penelope stepped back from day-to-day operations at Carter Industries, taking a chairman role and focusing more on philanthropy. They established a foundation providing financial assistance to single parents in memory of Sarah and in honor of the struggle Ethan had endured. Emma's wedding was beautiful, held at the lake house, where Penelope and Ethan had spent so many happy times with the family. Emma wore Sarah's wedding ring on a chain around her neck and Penelope's grandmother's pearls, honoring both mothers. In her vows, she thanked her father for showing her what to look for in a partner: steady love and constant support. Lily was maid of honor, giving a hilarious and heartfelt speech about growing up with Emma as a big sister. The twins, now 17 and tall as their father, stood as groomsmen, only mildly embarrassing their sister with their antics. At the reception, Penelope and Ethan danced together, watching their oldest daughter begin her own journey. "We did good," Ethan said softly. "We did," Penelope agreed. "All of them are turning out pretty amazing, like their mother." "Mothers," Penelope corrected gently. "Plural." Ethan squeezed her hand, understanding. After all these years, Penelope still honored Sarah's memory, still made sure the kids knew about their biological mother. It was one of the many reasons he loved her. The twins graduated high school and both got baseball scholarships to college. Lily was accepted to a prestigious art school. Suddenly, the house was empty except for Penelope and Ethan. They adjusted to the quiet, rediscovering each other in the stillness. Date nights became easier to plan. They traveled more, revisiting places they had been with the kids and exploring new destinations. They held hands walking through museums, cooked elaborate dinners together, made love in the middle of the afternoon because they could. But they also looked forward to holidays when the house filled again with their children, now young adults with their own lives and stories. They welcomed Emma's husband into the family, celebrated Lily's first gallery showing, cheered the twins through college baseball. And then, 15 years after that first meeting in the grocery store, they became grandparents. Emma and her husband welcomed a baby girl they named Sarah Penelope, honoring both of Emma's mothers. When Ethan held his granddaughter for the first time, Penelope watched him cry tears of joy and remembered the tired single father in the grocery store, counting his money and trying to make ends meet. "Look how far we have come," she whispered to him later as they sat together watching Emma nurse baby Sarah. "Look how far you brought us," he corrected. "No," Penelope said firmly. "We brought each other. You saved me just as much as I helped you, maybe more." They sat in comfortable silence, the sounds of family all around them. Emma chattering with Lily about baby care. The twins arguing good-naturedly about some sports game, the soft coos of their granddaughter. This, Penelope thought, was the real happy ending. Not a wedding or a declaration of love, though those had been wonderful moments. But this, the long, steady accumulation of years spent loving each other. The family they had built together, the ordinary magic of everyday life. That night, back in their own home, Penelope and Ethan got ready for bed with the same comfortable routine they had developed over nearly 2 decades together. Ethan hung up his clothes while Penelope washed her face. They brushed their teeth side by side. They climbed into bed, and Ethan pulled Penelope close, her back against his chest, his arm around her waist. "Do you ever think about that day in the grocery store?" Ethan asked softly. "What if I had not offered to help? What if you had found a store employee instead?" "I think about it sometimes," Penelope admitted, "but I do not think anything else could have happened. I think we were meant to find each other. Maybe not destiny exactly, but something close to it." "The universe and its tomato sauce," Penelope laughed. "Exactly. Though I am grateful Emma decided I was a princess. That was a good call on her part. She has always been a good judge of character." They lay quietly, both drifting toward sleep. Just before Penelope succumbed, she felt Ethan press a kiss to the top of her head. "I love you," he murmured. "My princess, my wife, my everything." "I love you too," she whispered back. "My hero with the kind eyes who reached a can off a high shelf and changed my life forever." And with that, surrounded by the accumulated memories of years spent loving each other, building a family, creating a life, they drifted off to sleep. Outside their window, the city lights twinkled, the same lights that had shone on a penthouse where a lonely billionaire once lived, and an apartment where a struggling father had made a home for his daughter. Now those lights shone on something new. Not separate lives that happened to intersect, but one life, shared and cherished. Built from the simplest beginning, a stranger's kindness in a grocery store aisle. Grown into something beautiful and lasting through patience and effort and, most of all, love. Years later, when people asked them how they met, Ethan and Penelope would smile at each other and say it was a long story. But if pressed, Ethan would say he helped a woman reach something on a high shelf. And Penelope would add that she helped a man reach something higher still. The dreams he thought were beyond him, the life he had stopped hoping for, the happiness he deserved but did not know how to find. And together they had reached even higher, building a family, a legacy, a love story that proved the best things in life could not be bought. They could only be earned day by day, choice by choice, through all the small ways we show up for the people we love, the end and also the beginning. Because love stories do not really end. They just keep unfolding, one ordinary, beautiful moment at a time forever.